Welcome to the news headlines at this hour. Pakistan issued sweeping financial sanctions against Afghanistan's Taliban just as the militant group is in the midst of US peace process in the neighboring country. The orders, which were made public late on Friday, identified dozens of individuals, including the Taliban's chief peace negotiator, Abdul Ghani Baradar, and several members of the Haqqani family, including Sirajuddin, the current head of the Haqqani network and deputy head of the Taliban. The list of sanctioned groups included others besides the Taliban and were in keeping with the 5-year-old United Nations resolution sanctioning the Afghan group and freezing their assets. Russian dissident Alexei Navalny arrived in Berlin on Saturday for medical treatment following a suspected poisoning. Accompanied by his wife Yulia Navalnaya, Mr. Navalny was transferred by air ambulance from Umansk in Siberia to Berlin's Tegel airport around 6 a.m. He was later transferred to city's Charity Hospital, Germany's largest university clinic. Mr. Navalny, Russia's most outspoken critic of President Vladimir Putin, was hospitalized on Thursday and remains unconscious after suddenly falling ill due to a flight to Moscow from Siberia. Supporters believe the opposition leader was poisoned. Russian doctors have disputed this claim, saying there was no evidence of poisoning and that Mr. Navalny was suffering from a metabolic disorder. Mr. Navalny is currently in a coma and breathing through a ventilator, with doctors describing his condition as stable. Senior South Korean and Chinese officials on Saturday reaffirmed plans to arrange a summit between their leaders at an early date once coronavirus concerns subside. At a meeting in South Korean port city of Busan, top Chinese diplomat Yang Jiechi and South Korea's national security advisor Soo Hoon also discussed the international standoff over North Korea's nuclear weapons program and rising tensions between Washington and Beijing, the Blue House said. The government of South Korean President Moon Jae-in has been eager to improve bilateral relations that have been strained since South Korea deployed a US anti-missile system on its soil in 2017 over Chinese objections. Moon has hoped to host Chinese President Xi Jinping in Seoul during the earlier half of the year, but the spread of COVID-19 prevented the visit. Firefighters and aircraft from 10 states began arriving in California on Friday to help weary crews battling some of the largest blazes in state history on weekend. Weather threatened to renew the advance of flames that have killed 6 people and incinerated hundreds of homes. Some 560 wildfires were burning throughout the state, but many were small and remote. The bulk of damage was from 3 clusters of blazes that were ravaging forest and rural areas in the wine country and San Francisco Bay Area. Those complexes, consisting of dozens of fires, exploded in size on Friday. Together, they scorched 991 square miles and destroyed more than 500 homes and other buildings, fire officials said. The early months of Joe Biden's third White House bid was marked with uneven debate performances and winding town halls in Iowa and New Hampshire. That contrast to the loquacious, eloquent young senator who first sought the presidency 33 years ago struck even some friendly Democrats and fed the Republican narrative that the 77-year-old was no longer fit to lead. Biden did much to dispel that caricature on Thursday night during his 24 minutes address accepting the Democratic Party's presidential nomination. His performance validates at least some of the frustrations the former vice president and his aides have expressed privately through months of viral videos of Biden gaffes and the Sleepy Joey invective peddled by President Donald Trump, himself a septuagenarian who mangles syntax and regularly speaks or tweets meandering, nonsensical thoughts. Preview. Russian President Vladimir Putin is no fan of revolutions. As massive demonstrations and strikes roil the cities of neighboring Belarus, he cannot like what he sees. The question on everyone's mind is what he will do about it. Putin has little affection for Belarus's widely loathed president, Alexander Lukashenko, who claimed victory in the August 9 presidential election, which observers say was fraudulent. Over the years, the Belarusian strongman has alternately caged aid from Moscow and played the anti-Russian card to rally support at home. Just a few weeks ago, he arrested a team of Russian mercenaries transiting through Minsk and threatened to deliver him to Ukraine, where some were accused of terrorist activities. While the exact damage of the explosion in the port of Beirut earlier this month is not exactly known yet, officials estimated it would cost $15 billion to fix it. At least 25,000 homes have been damaged so badly that they are no longer be able to live in. The explosion is just another calamity that Lebanon, with a population of little more than 6 million people, is facing, including the coronavirus pandemic and an already struggling economy. 30,000 people lost their homes either partially or completely. There are a number of challenges to rebuild the property that had been damaged. The Lebanese lira was devalued by the economic crisis. Additionally, banks are placing draconian limitations on withdrawals even from bank accounts that have the money. Additionally, even those who have insurance cannot get a payout until the cause of the explosion is determined after a government investigation. Damage by wars or acts of terrorism isn't covered at all. The explosion killed more than 180 people and wounded over 6,000. It also destroyed 4 hospitals, the port, and many buildings. The blast was caused after more than 2,750 metric tons of ammonium nitrate that were stored at a warehouse where it ignited. Trump administration officials have been negotiating for months with the regime of embattled Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro over the release of American citizens stuck in the country, a process that was given renewed urgency at the outset of the coronavirus pandemic, several sources said. But State Department offers to organize direct private flights from Caracas to the United States or through third-party countries such as Spain and Mexico have been rebuffed by Maduro, who has insisted on using Conviasa, a Venezuelan airline sanctioned by Washington. 2 sources involved in the negotiations confirmed to McClatchy that the use of Conviasa, the transport of Americans and for the repatriation of Venezuelans stranded in the United States back to Venezuela, has been a non-starter for the Trump administration. This is Jyoti reporting for Our Voice. Preview.